Joining us live is the Treasurer, Josh Frydenberg. Treasurer, good to see you. Thanks for your time as always. So, pre-election budget around the corner. Are you going to extend the tax offset for low and middle income earners?
Well, as you know, our track record has been to cut taxes at every opportunity. That's what we've done for families. That's what we've done for small businesses. And now, we continue to look for opportunities. Just indeed, last week, I introduced legislation into the Parliament to establish what is called a patent box to encourage innovation in the medical and the biotech sectors, where they pay a concessional company tax rate of just 17 cents in the dollar. But we've got new data out today with Treasury analysis and ATO analysis that show young women in particular being the greatest beneficiaries of our tax cuts, with on average $3,130 less tax being paid by some 5 million women who have got the benefit of our tax cuts. And particularly for those 24 and under, they're seeing 20% less tax being paid under the coalition compared to what it was under the Labor Party. So that's a very big difference. That's more money into people's pockets. That's encouraging effort, and that's rewarding aspiration. That's very consistent, Pete, with the coalition's values.
Okay, so but on to that tax offset, which has been there for the last two budgets now, is that going to extend into a third budget?
Well, I'm not going to give you a running commentary on what will or not be in the upcoming budget. What we do know, though, for that budget is we need to lock in the recovery. We've seen a very strong bounce back in the Australian economy, particularly in our labour market, with the unemployment rate at 4.2%. Don't forget, it was the Labor Party and Jim Chalmers in particular who said the biggest single test of the Morrison government's management of the recession will be what happens to jobs and the unemployment rate. And now we're at a 13-year low, with unemployment, underemployment and youth unemployment all lower under the coalition compared to under the Labor Party.
Okay, so but on this now, we've spoken in the last couple of weeks about budget repair. Now, unemployment going so well and the economy as a whole going so well, is this an expense that is needed, in your opinion?
Well, again, I don't see tax cuts as an expense. What I do see them as strengthening the economy and allowing Australians to keep more of what they earn. Well, Pete, let's wait and see what's in the budget. But you've touched on what will be a very, very important battle line in the upcoming election. You see, we have a leader of the opposition who's trying to sneak into government, trying a small target strategy. But we know he has stood for a carbon tax, a mining tax, a congestion tax, a retirees tax, a housing tax, a family business tax, a higher superannuation tax, higher income taxes, and of course death duties and wealth taxes and an inheritance tax. That's most damning of all. Now, he wants you to forget the past, but how can Australians forget what he was advocating just a few years ago going into the election? We're not going to let him get away with it. We're going to shine a very bright light onto Albanese's history, into his policies that he supported, because Australians need to understand this is a choice, this upcoming election, between a Liberal national coalition and a Labor Greens coalition. So don't listen to the dismissals from Anthony Albanese that he won't partner with the Greens.
Well, I mean, he's already said, though, that he won't be partnering up with fringe groups.
Well, why would you believe that when he was part of a government, a senior member of the government, that joined with the Greens? And we know that Chris Bowen at the time said he was very happy to partner with the Greens. We know that Wayne Swan, then Treasurer, said he was happy for it to be known as a coalition with the Greens. You see, Labor, if they are in a position where they're desperate to get on the Treasury benches, will of course join with the Greens and secure their vote. Adam Bandt's already calling his members as shadow ministers. And we know that across the Lake Burley Griffin here, just across the road, effectively, we've got a Labor-Greens coalition in government with cabinet ministers from the Greens in the ACT. So look at what they've done in the past. Look at the alignment of policies. If you go to the Greens website, they're in favour of a housing tax, they're in favour of inheritance taxes, they're in favour of carbon taxes and mining taxes and high taxes on super and changing the marginal tax rates. That's basically a Labor wish list when it comes to tax. So the alignment of policy and a look at the very recent past give you a strong indication that the Labor Party and the Greens are in coalition.
Just one more on the low to middle income tax offset. I know you're a bit sheepish on what you want to say right now, but is it true that you're wedged on this one because it's either a tax increase or an expense that adds to inflationary pressures?
Well, the first thing to say is Limito was not a permanent feature of the tax system when we introduced it, and I said as much at the time in the budget. So it's a bit like, when Kevin Rudd was announcing individual payments for households, or when we, during the GFC, or when we announced our $750 payments to pensioners and carers and veterans, when that didn't continue, people didn't say that you were cutting payments to those on income support. They were taken based on the economic environment at the time. Like I said, I'm not going to say what is in or what is not in
Sounds like
the
you're going to cut
upcoming budget. But Limito was never a permanent feature of the system.
Sounds like you're going to cut it.
Well, again, you can jump to whatever conclusion you like. What I'm saying is we haven't made any final decision yet. I'm not going to reveal which way we may be leaning in today's program. But I also want to point out to you that we have legislated the most significant tax reform in decades with the abolition of a whole tax bracket, the 37 cents in the dollar tax bracket. Now, that only comes in when stage 3 comes in. Now, again, Anthony Albanese and Jim Chalmers will have you believe they'll just mirror the coalition's policy. But Jim Chalmers called our stage 3 tax cuts offensive. Now he wants us to believe that he supports them. Anthony Albanese called our stage 3 tax cuts being for the top end of town. Now he wants us to believe that he supports them. I don't think anyone can believe Anthony Albanese.
Josh, do you play the ukulele?
No. Very bad chopsticks on the piano.
Has Scott Morrison played a tune for you at the Lodge at all?
No. We sort of confine our entertainment to the billiard table.
And who wins?
When I stayed there the other month, he took the honours, and more recently I did. So I wouldn't be as bold to say we're even, but it's competitive. Put it like that.
All right, good one, Josh Frydenberg. Thanks for your time as always. We'll talk to you soon.